And Johnny, let's move in. The next thing we're talking about, we're moving away from DC into the Spider-Verse. I'm going to say the Venom-verse. That's what people online.
That's what so far is.
I've been seeing dubbed it. But before we get into Venom 2 news and what we could expect, make sure to rate and review the podcast on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Even if you're on YouTube, I know you guys got it. I know that you have an Apple account that you've had for years. Every 5-star rating and review really helps us. Yeah, we get it, Johnny. You're not an Apple guy. But for the Apple folks out there, every 5-star, every review really, really does help us. And I saw one of the other podcasts that I listened to. I'll give them a shout out. League of Geeks. They posted on Facebook of a review. It was a 1-star review they got. And they're like, hey, look at 5. Oh, wait, that says a 1-star review. Well, every 5-star review helps us out. So basically making fun, like, that's the kind of humor I like. The self-deprecating humor of like, hey, I'm going to make fun of myself. You're not bringing me down kind of a thing. But let's move into Venomverse news, Spider-Verse news, as well as Venom 2 gets its director, Johnny. So this will be kind of a 2-part conversation. First, talking and reacting to Andy Serkis, who you may know from Planet of the Apes.
Nope.
You may also know him from Lord of the Rings as Gollum. You may also know him from Black Panther as Ulysses Claw. Is there is there something that you're like? Gollum is usually the thing that people go, yes, okay, that's the thing.
I mean, those are the main.
Are you saying nope just to be an asshole? Or
I'm saying nope to be an asshole.
I thought there was like one role
such
where
obvious things.
I'm like, is there one role that I'm like missing that Johnny's like, yes, that is where I know him. That's why I threw in the MCU. No.
Those are the biggest ones I would say. Are those 3.
So
because he does a shit ton of the mocap stuff.
And that's usually like that's what I want to start with. So Andy Serkis directing Venom 2, where this is going to be his first major, like this is him getting his foot into the directing door, because if you look at his IMDb, this is now his 4th thing for directing. All the other ones happened 2017, 2018. Breathe, a TV movie called The Ruins of Empire, and Mowgli Legend of the Jungle, which I see on Netflix, but then I never watch because I'm like, I don't know. It kind of looks like a Jungle Book knockoff. So this is his first kind of step into the major movie, the silver screen, first big directing project. He had beaten out, there were names, so Serkis was a part of a short list of potential directors. I'm getting this from superherohype.com that included Bumblebee's Travis Knight, Serkis's Rise of the Planet of the Apes collaborator, Rupert Watt. Although Serkis is primarily known for his acting work and mocap performances, he's dabbled behind the camera as well. He made Future's directorial debut in 2017 with Breathe, also helmed, like I said, Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, which arrived on Netflix last year. So just with that announcement that Andy Serkis is directing Venom 2, what are your thoughts? Because big name, really knows his stuff when it comes to mocap, but this is pretty much not his first directorial debut, but this is
his first big one.
This is him stepping from the minor leagues into the major leagues.
Yeah, so I know definitely he's going to have like any of the mocap. There's going to be a decent amount of mocap.
Yeah, especially with Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Like there was in the first
Tom
one.
Hardy and
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson for Carnage.
Mm-hmm. I was going to let you get there yourself.
Thank you.
I was like, you know what?
You know these names.
I'm like, I helped him with Woody Harrelson. He can get to Carnage.
It's like, you know these names.
Yep.
Don't try don't try and act like you don't.
I'll be like the dad that's like, don't worry, let him struggle. He'll get there.
He'll figure it out. Yeah, no. So I don't know how his directing necessarily will be. I know that will help immensely though.
Yeah.
And with all the movies he's been in, I can say he's got to have some knowledge of how to direct it. So as long as he just kind of follows the storyline.
Yeah. And that to me is like the biggest thing I saw when they made this move was it's it's one of those things where you kind of think like, okay, even if, and I'm saying if, and when I throw out this word, I don't want to throw it out. I don't even want to say it out of my mouth because it seems disrespectful to Andy Serkis. But like, even if he's a novice in some of the directing parts, what he's gonna bring with his knowledge of motion capture
and
is gonna help.
Itself.
Yeah, it's gonna help this tremendously.
Like
immensely, I should say.
Tremendously.
Yeah, tremendously.
It's better than
tremendous and immensely together.
What I would love to see is just like him take his character of like Ulysses Claw with his just all his mocap knowledge and just like throw that into Venom because you remember how like Ulysses Claw was both in Age of Ultron and Black Panther, excuse me. Kind of goofy, but serious when need to be type thing. And I would love to see that in the Venom versus Carnage. But then he also has that very serious side he can pull off because he played Snoke.
And he played Caesar.
And he played Gollum, which again is the back and forth.
He was Snoke?
Yeah, I looked it up.
No way was he Snoke.
Where is it at?
Did he do the mo-capture for Snoke?
He may have just done the mocap for Snoke. It just says, where the hell is it? I know it's in here.
What, IMDb?
Yeah, I have IMDb up. I'm just trying to find where it was. Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Supreme Leader Snoke.
Yeah, you know
and
what?
Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Snoke. He may have. For all we know, he voiced it.
Yeah, he voiced it. Like, if it was mo-capture, it would have just said mo-capture.
Yeah.
So damn,
he did Snoke.
Like, I totally forgot.
He has a range.
Snoke. He does, and that's the thing of
because I think he did the voice for Caesar too.
He did everything for Caesar.
Yeah. So I mean, he's got that very serious side, but you used to look at Ulysses Claw. He's got a good range.
Which, by the way, this is a side kind of.
So he can have like the mo-capping Taika Waititi on our hands as well.
This is a side thing that I'm going to throw out there.
Yeah.
If you want to watch a really cool YouTube video about mo-capture, Google the behind the scenes with Benedict Cumberbatch doing Smaug. Have you ever seen that?
Smaug, yeah.
Like him actually, he came in. I
like
know
he's got on all fours and he's crawling around.
I know this is off the discussion of Serkis, and we'll get back to Venom in a hot second. But like I watched that because like Andy Serkis then drove me. No, it was Andy Serkis. Then I looked at the Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange news. Then it drew me into like Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug. And like, first off, not only him just in a wide open room doing all the Smaug stuff, when they actually recorded his lines for Smaug, the recording guys had to come up with like so on the recording table, they had to put like a mat that wasn't going to like wool that wasn't going to make noise because basically Benedict was going to do his thing on that table. Like, and they had to come up with like a rig of like several different mics so he could turn this way. And
so he can
like, I can't hear, like you couldn't hear me just now.
Yeah. So
they would have had a mic behind him to pick him up.
Yeah.
Still.
That way they can just let him do his thing and like get into character.
And it's so cool. And that's the thing with like Andy Serkis. It's just so cool watching these guys in their element do their thing because it's like, you're not like, and this is Tom Hardy coming in, and this is why I think he's perfect for the Venom character, is they kind of just, with these guys, you can just let them do their own thing. And like, you're not playing a human, so like the facial expressions that you need to do, and kind of like, you really have to go 110% into it. It's kind of like what we see with Mark Hamill with his old recordings of Batman the Animated Series, where like they'd even say, like Kevin Conroy would say, yeah, all of us would be like on our stools, like going to record, and it's like Mark Hamill would be there standing up, getting into it, like moving with the character. And that's what obviously you have to do with this mocap stuff. And I think Andy Serkis is going to be like, even if there's stuff in the directing part that kind of dip a little bit, and by dip, I don't mean it's going to be a bad movie, I don't think.
It's just not going to be like when you bring in a really well-known like Feige or
Yes,
someone like that.
exactly.
You're not going to get that necessarily. I know that's a real big name.
Which I find funny, which I was watching a video on YouTube. I think it was a Screen Rant video about the X-Men, where basically they went on a little side rant about like, yeah, we totally talk up Kevin Feige, but it's like Kevin Feige hasn't always been that great. Where I think I'm going to start doing the Kevin Feige look, by the way.
Yeah.
Once I get like a little, like I'm not saying super in shape. Once I get a little bit more in shape, the bald head ball cap. Because I loved my ball caps when I was in college and high school. Like, why not, man? Like Kevin Feige's pulling. Could you imagine me pulling off the jean? Well, not the. I was gonna say jeans and like the suit coat that he wears, like the black T-shirt, jeans, suit coat, and then a ball cap.
Do it.
Just an X-Men ball cap, a Batman ball cap.
Do it.
I was just like, if Kevin Feige can pull it off, I can pull it off too. It was just a side rant you got me on when you said Kevin Feige. But let's segue into what we're possibly going to see with Venom 2. Because we know Carnage is going to be the villain. Mm-hmm. We know that it's going to be the Lethal Protector storyline. So in the article that announced Andy Serkis on Superhero Hype, it said it also looks as though Serkis has already started doing research for the sequel. The filmmaker just confirmed the new gig via his own Instagram page. The image shows Serkis holding a copy of Venom Lethal Protector number 6, the final installment in the 1993 miniseries. And we know for sure that storyline, the Lethal Protector storyline, is what they used as a base for the first Venom movie. Mm-hmm. Like, it was Lethal Protector. You and I talked about it with all the other symbiotes. And they all come to take on and basically fight Tom Hardy. We also have, in a different Superhero Hype article, actual words out of the mouth of Andy Serkis, where it says, the first Venom didn't fare well with critics when it hit theaters last October. However, Serkis is confident that the next installment will be something special. Writer Kelly Marcel is still finalizing the movie's screenplay, which apparently features extra contributions from Tom Hardy himself. It is a fantastic franchise, and I'm honored to be asked to direct it, said Serkis. It feels like a very contemporary story, and I think hopefully that it's going to be an extraordinary piece of cinema. I've known Tom for years and admired him as an actor and a producer, added Serkis, and we've wanted to work together for years. I can't tell you any ideas right now. I'm in the beginning stages, but I have some very clear ideas about what I want to see visually and how we can take the characters to another dimension, Serkis commented. So, Johnny, this is where we kind of open up our theorizing hats and kind of our fun hats, is Venom 2. Now that we got the news part of it out of the way, Serkis directing, our reactions to it, what do you want to see from this movie now that we know it's an Andy Serkis directed movie?
Venom fight Carnage.
Well,
just wanted to be vague. Just the reaction, honestly.
Johnny, is this thing on? I just want to see Venom fight Carnage. And then just back away. But what because the thing, like...
Mic drop.
Because the Lethal Protector storyline, we saw, and I'm taking this from an article, Screen Rant article, because they did one about Carnage, the main villain. How could they introduce it? And it says, in the comics, Eddie and Cletus are prison cellmates, and the Venom symbiote leaves a bit of itself behind when Eddie and Venom break out of it. This leads to a small amount of the symbiote latching onto Cletus and calling himself its new host, transforming him into Carnage. Filled with more power than he's ever had before, Cassidy uses his new abilities for murder and mass destruction until Venom has to stop him. For Venom 2, this would be a reasonably easy storyline to adapt and stick with the continuity of the first film. Instead of sending Eddie to prison, the sequel could pick up with him visiting Cassidy once again in prison. It could be revealed that Eddie's piece on Cletus is substantial and requires multiple interviews between the two. But the Venom symbiote could also be sick during the film, leading it to leave a part of itself behind during one of these sessions. This would lead to Cassidy bonding with the symbiote. Remember that? Mm-hmm. The symbiote.
It's the symbiote.
And breaking out of prison, while leaving Eddie to question if the symbiote is trying to betray him. Carnage could be brought into Venom 2's story in several different ways, but it wouldn't be too surprising if the movie ultimately follows the comic's original story. Do you think they deviate from it? Do you think they send Eddie to prison where he's in prison? Do you think it's the interview thing? What's your kind of thought with
I
the
would
story?
go off of the interview thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe like, I wouldn't say necessarily he's sick, Venom, but like because he took substantial damage.
He's just weaker.
He's
like
weaker.
The symbiote is weaker.
Yeah. So like maybe a little piece of him falls off. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how that works necessarily if it becomes like its own symbiote.
I mean,
if like a piece of him were to fall off,
it would depend. Like the way I would see it is if it just falls off, it wouldn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. But if a part latches onto a new host, then that is a possibility of it.
That's what I'm saying though. Yeah. Like, do you think it like if a piece of like Venom himself falls off of Eddie and like, well, shit, gotta survive, get to like Cassidy.
Yeah. And then once it latches, it becomes its own. Yeah.
Like, so it would become its own.
Because it would link with Cassidy's personality. Mm-hmm. And then, boom, that's how it becomes Carnage. That's what I would think, how they would play it. For me, what I want to see mostly, and this is something that Sony played with a little bit with Venom 1, where originally they were going to have Venom be rated R. Mm-hmm. And if you look back and watch the Venom movie, most of the tone with Tom Hardy was shot when they were going to have it be rated R. When they were like, this is a rated R film, most of his stuff was shot in that. It's everyone else. Like, the thing that I saw from, I'm going to quote him, Charlie from the Emergency Awesome YouTube channel, because he does a great job. Mm-hmm. He mentioned that one of the doctors, I think it's the doctor that helped Hardy, or helped, what's his name, Brock, get into the facility. Even her tone, it's like her tone is where it was because that scene was shot when it was rated R. And then they added other things to be like, no. We're going to make it PG-13. I almost feel like Sony could use Deadpool 2 basically, as its testing ground. Where, hey,
Venom 2?
Yeah.
You said Deadpool.
Yeah, I know. Sony could use Deadpool 2 as the test. And you give me that weird look. Let me explain.
Yeah.
So when was Deadpool 2 rated R or PG-13?
R.
Did it come out with a PG-13 version?
Yes.
I think Sony, Deadpool showed, and this is like what Deadpool did for the comic book world that'll be interesting to see. I think what Deadpool 2 showed is you can, come out with two versions of the same movie, have one be for the PG-13 crowd, one be for the rated R crowd, have it be marginally different, where Once Upon a Deadpool did have the Fred Savage stuff in it that was very different than Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
But they were able to market that.
Yeah.
I would love to see Venom 2 come out originally rated R, and then basically, if they wanted to, do something like Deadpool this is where he becomes his own thing, where you have so much to work on with Ryan Reynolds and the personality of him and Deadpool as the character, to come up with a PG-13 version and have it be unique, although it's the same movie, I think you could almost do the same thing with Venom 2, where it's like, hey, the original's rated R, but we also will come out later with a PG-13 version if they want to.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to worry, though, about the PG-13 version, because even if they come out with a rated R version, we will come. The only thing they're alienating is possibly the kids, but let's be honest, Venom was a scary character anyways, so I don't know how many kids are
How do you
to go
do
see
Carnage
Venom.
without being rated R anyways?
Exactly.
How do you do them right?
Exactly.
How do you do them justice
Like,
without making rated R?
when the Sam Raimis were out, Dave and I would go see those movies, and one of the things we would always say is, God, I can't wait till we live in a day where we can see Carnage in a Spider-Man movie, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the old things we'd always say is, but I don't want it done unless it's rated R, because you can't do Carnage unless it's rated R. Does it have to be rated R then in your mind? Are we setting it up to where it's like, if it's not rated R, I'm going to question this movie?
I would most definitely prefer it to be rated R, because then you can, like we saw with Deadpool, like we saw with Logan, you can do the character justice.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing too is Logan's
one where you can kind of flip back and forth, like the character himself, but...
Yeah, but Logan was interesting to the fact of... I almost put that in its own category, because that was a send-off.
Yeah.
Where it was like, fuck it, we're doing it R, because this is the last Wolverine movie we're going to do, and this is a send-off to the character.
I mean, let's put it this way. Could you have done Logan... Like, hey, could you have done a Logan movie and had a PG-13? Yeah. Would it have had the same impact? No. Like, and that would be Carnage. Will he have the same impact? No.
No, he wouldn't have.
Where
Or he wouldn't, I should
Deadpool, he still could, because he still could. Look at Detective Pikachu. Ryan Reynolds was at PG-13. He was still Ryan Reynolds. He's still funny as hell.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing of, like, I just wonder is... That's my biggest question for this movie is it's not Andy Serkis and what he brings to the directorial chair. It's not the story that they're going to use. It's not Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, because I know there were some people that were like, he didn't rub me the right way. I liked him as Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
Like, I was surprised going to see Venom. Like, I thought that Venom... I went into that movie with low expectations on purpose because I didn't want to be... disappointed, but I thought it was going to be worse than it was. And the thing that's unique about the first Venom movie is, like, the article I read that said critics didn't like it. Yeah, but the audience did. The audience loved that movie.
That's why I don't listen to critic reviews.
Yeah, and that's where and I don't mean we as like me and you. I mean as like, and this is side conversation yet again, but it's important. This is why we're in the age of most people our age and younger, or even so around our age and younger, are not going to listen to Joe Schmo who writes for the Detroit paper or Ebert and Roper anymore. They come to us. They come to the influencer. And I hate that word, but it's true. They come to the YouTuber, the podcaster that they trust.
Yeah.
That they have put, like, hey, they're going to, like, for example, us. I hope people come to us and say, hey, you know what? Johnny may really like the movie and not be critical of it. Ricky might be overcritical of it and more critical than Johnny. But the bottom line is they're going to shoot from the hip. And they're going to tell you like it is. And they're going to say, hey, although I saw it this way, maybe it doesn't rub you the right way. Like, each person's going to come to their own. And that's where we live in now, to where, like, I see the critics and I go, let me see the movie for myself.
Yeah.
But, like, looking at Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter for Venom 1, 29%. Do you want to take a guess at what the audience score, the fan score was?
84.
Close. You just overshot it. Do you want a second guess, or do you want me to tell you?
82.
Closer. You just overshot it.
80.
81.
81. God
81.
damn it.
So 81%. Whereas
that's not a bad guess on my part.
Whereas 29% for the critics. But also, we throw it out there every time. Johnny, it's the game we love to play. What movie got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Paddington 2.
From the critics and from the fans, it got an 88. So that's a perfect example.
Paddington 2?
Got an 88 from fans, but 100 from critics.
Yeah.
So, just an example, Paddington 2 is a great movie according to the critics.
It is #1 movie. Best movie.
Which is funny. It could be a good movie. I didn't see it.
I
remember I wanted to, and Dave said, no, you're crazy. Just like he said we were crazy when we said we wanted to see Dora, which we would have if you weren't busy this weekend.
Yeah.
Like you said, we were crazy for that.
Hell, our friend Ron wanted to see it too.
He did. Any final thoughts on this before we move on?
No, I'm excited to see what Andy Serkis can do for this movie.
The interesting thing will be how him and Hardy work together. I don't think it's going to be a problem. What Serkis is going to bring in mocap-wise, and Tom Hardy just in general, because the way they let him work is they let him... The way I always... or have seen it described online and such, is when it comes to the Venom movies, Tom Hardy has the same freedom that RDJ had in the Marvel movies, where anything Tony Stark, they just let Robert Downey do his thing, and it was like, cool, that's
Here's your
gravy.
guidelines, do what you need to do.
And they kind of, with Venom, they treat Tom Hardy the same way, where it's like, hey, here's what we're looking for. All right, we're gonna let you go to work here, and I can't wait to see Andy Serkis coming in, how he kind of takes this product we have with the mocap of Tom Hardy and tweaks it slightly to where we get an even better version of Tom Hardy, a better version of Eddie Brock, a better version of Venom that we didn't get the first time in it, and I can't wait for it. But let us know, obviously, what you guys think down below. What do you think of Andy Serkis coming in? What do you think of Venom 2? What do you expect from Venom 2? What do you want to see? What do you don't want to see? Let us know down below.